What's going on, guys, and welcome to Who to Sign For. Now, in this series, I'm giving you my recommendations on what players to sign for a specific team in career mode. But before we go on, I will say that the signings you'll see aren't designed to be realistic, which is very important, and that the player ratings and potentials may vary depending on what database you're using and how they perform for you during the season. You don't have to follow all the tips. This is really just a set of guidelines to give you a hand if you're stuck for ideas and want some suggestions on what players you could sign for a certain club. This is mainly aimed at those who are out there who may be new to the game and just want some help, or for those who are out there who may just be stuck for ideas on what players you could sign for a certain team in career mode. So in today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys, we are going to go to the Serie A and take a look at Roma. Yes, the Italian side, who are one of the bigger sides in the Serie A, and certainly a very fun team to do a career mode with, no doubt about that, just for the location, on its own, really. I'd love to visit Rome, and also their kits as well. But anyway, enough of that. Roma is the team we're going to look at today in today's Who to Sign For, and you see their objectives start the episode as well. In the first season with Roma, you are supposed to reach the semi-finals in both the Coppa Nacional and also the Champions League as well, and also finish in the top 3 in the Serie A as to qualify for the Champions League for next season. Now, their starting budget is around £34.5 million. Their team is a 4.5-star rated team, and it's okay. It's pretty good, I would say. The first 11's quite strong. The one area of concern with Roma, however, is the depth, but we'll go into that in just a moment's time and explain how you can solve that pretty quickly with just an easy strategy, which some people don't like. But as I said at the start of the series, start of the episode, as I say in every episode of the series, these episodes aren't designed to be realistic. Now, particularly their squad then, you can see what their team is currently like and how it's set up. You just saw it there in their 3 at the back formation. Again, the squad depth is probably the main area of concern with Roma. It's got a couple of aging players in there as well, which again we'll move on to in just a moment, but the squad depth is probably the biggest area of concern for me. But the easiest way to solve that is what you'll see in just a moment's time, recalling some players from loan, because as you can see by the squad report, it's not that Roma have a small squad, it's that a ton of players are currently loaned out right now, and I'll show you what players I'd recommend recalling in just a moment's time. Now, as for the contracts, there are 4 players with their deals that come to the end of the year. The noteworthy ones, of course, being club legends Daniele De Rossi and also Francesco Totti. Now, I would say if you wanted to do a Roma career and literally just basically make this team your own, and you want to let go of De Rossi and Totti, by all means do so. De Rossi's 32, and despite being 83 overall, is going to decrease in the first season. Totti is 39 years old, and also certainly going to decrease rapidly in the first season. But I would still give them deals because they are club legends, and I'll keep them there till you retire, just because it's quite a nice feeling. And also for players coming back from loan as well, I'd recommend 3. Castan, the centre-back, Doumbia, the striker, and also William Van Quer as well, who's a holding midfielder. Possibly Iturb as well from Torino if you want, or leave him out. It's totally up to you. I think Roma could, do with him back at the team, but if you'd rather keep him out and watch him develop, that's totally fine at another club. But yeah, as for Castan, also Van Quer, and also Doumbia as well, the reason I chose those 3 players is because they affect the spine of the team. You got a centre-back, a striker, and a central midfielder as well. All 3 of those players are good enough and also old enough right now to not improve whilst they're out on loan or at your team, and they're good enough to be in your first 11 bench, or at least a handy squad player to have. There's no point in keeping players out on loan if you've got the money to recall them and they're not going to improve whilst they're out on loan. It literally makes no sense to leave them out there. Bring them back, and I know some people don't like it, but it just is the best way to improve your squad depth without spending much money and getting back players who, simply put, aren't going to do anything for you whilst they're out on loan, just not eat into your salary. If you're a club like Roma who've got the money not to worry about it, bring them back from loan. Simple as that. But anyway, for sales and signings with Roma, that's what you come to the episodes for. I would recommend selling Edin Dzeko. Now, wait Wait. Put down those pitchforks. Let me explain. I know that Edin Dzeko has a phenomenal goal-to-game ratio for Roma. I know he's a big reason as to why they are, a very good team on the game as well as I'm sure in real life too. The Bosnian is a great striker and the former City man is proving that in the Serie A right now. But he is 30 years old, and as I said many times before, players when they hit 30 in career mode, unless they are goalkeepers, are likely to decrease in the first season. Now with Roma, you don't need to win anything in the first season, but you do need to think about the long-term future. One of the objectives you may have noticed at the start of the episode was they need to win the league title in 2 years' time. Now with Juventus having such a strong hold on the championship right now, you are going to need to sign players that are good enough to improve the first 11 straight away and be good enough to be well beaters in the future to compete with Juventus for domestic leagues and cups. Now Dzeko may be good to begin with 82 overall, but he's not going to get any better, he's just going to get worse. Whereas the replacement I looked for, which was Romelu Lukaku from Everton, is going to turn into a freak of nature at his full potential. He's 23 years old, so 7 years younger than the Bosnian, 2 ratings higher already, and despite the fact he will cost you quite a bit of money, we paid 10 million over his valuation, which is 44 million pounds. This guy has 89 potential, and in my opinion, it should be a rating higher, and 90 potential. But the guy is absolutely phenomenal in real life and also in the game as well. For those who don't know, I've been following Lukaku since his Anderlecht days. I remember watching him, like a montage of him, when he was 16 years old and he won the Golden Boot in Belgium, and I knew this guy would be an absolute just a monster, and that's exactly what he's turning into, and in the game he has the potential to reflect that as well. 89 potential, the guy will turn into a star, he already is one. Bring him to Roma, he will be worth every single penny, and even though you do spend most of your budget on the guy, even after selling Edin Dzeko, he's still worth the money, trust me. I also sold Perotti as well, who you can keep if you want, but I would recommend selling him for a little bit more scratch, and also Vainqueur as well, the French midfielder that I brought back too, just because when he comes back, you can either keep him in the bench, or on the bench I should say, or sell him, it's up to you, but he is in his mid to late 20s, he's not going to get any better, and you've already got better midfielders here, De Rossi, Strootman, and also Nainggolan as well, who's pushed up a little bit in the cam, and you've also got a young midfielder too, that's got some decent potential as well. I'd recommend selling him and possibly going in for a new midfielder. And if you were to look for a new midfielder, I'd recommend this guy right here, Florentin Tolisso, the Lyon midfielder. He's just 21 years old. He's already 81 overall. This guy, like Lukaku, has 89 potential. And just like the Belgian, you will have to spend quite a bit of money on the guy. Sorry, he's 22, not 21. I thought he was 21. Maybe he's 22. You will have to spend quite a bit of money on the guy. I spent 30 million to get him from France to Italy, but this guy, like Lukaku, again, meets the criteria you want for having great potential for the future and also being good enough right now to improve your first 11 in your bench too. I'd definitely recommend both of those players. I think they'd be great additions to Roma. As for more sales as well, how about this guy, Seydou Doumbia? Now, this is one of the best things about recalling players from loan. If you don't plan to keep them in a team, you can just sell them in the first transfer window straight away. So with Doumbia, you could use him. He's a god on FIFA. He has been for many years. Or you could sell him straight away. I chose the latter, even though the former would have been good as well, and you'll see what I plan to do just after that as well. But Tolisso was my second signing anyway, and I'm just realising I didn't show the Lukaku stats again, but you know what the guy looks like anyway. Tolisso is the second signing I made, and also for another sale as well, as Nainggolan had his bid rejected from United. I'd also recommend selling Castan, because again, it's another player you recall from loan. You can keep him in the first team with a really high overall, or you can sell him. And that's the best thing about recalling players from loan. You don't have to keep them if you don't want to. You can move them on for a little bit of money. And if you're wondering why Nainggolan had the leaving tag on his morale, it's because he requested a transfer, but the board let me keep him. So there you go. Yeah, Tolisso was my second signing, £30 million. And again, worth every single penny. Because even though right now, Tolisso would go on the bench, because Strootman and De Rossi are better, and Nainggolan's playing cam as well, even though Tolisso is worse than those three midfielders for overall, you've got to think about the long-term future. So many people play career mode and just, they just focus on the first season and don't worry about the long-term future. You have to when you're managing a club like Roma, because in the first season, you're probably not going to outmuscle Juve for the league and the cup. And because of that, you need to worry about the long-term future. And players like Tolisso, players like Lukaku, and players like the final two players I show you here that I signed as well, meet that criteria. The final two signings I made were these guys right here. Firstly, Portuguese striker from Porto. His name is Andre Silva. He is 78 overall with 86 potential. He's just 20 years old. Another really smart signing for the bench. So once again, you're selling someone like Doumbia, but bringing in a younger striker with more potential. We picked him up for £13 million, £2 million over his valuation. But again, another player who you can look at as a player who can be great for the future for your team, or as someone you can make money on and a lot of profit on later down the line. And my final signing I made in this episode was this centre-back right here after the sale of Castan. This guy's 7 years younger. He's the same overall. He's 22 years old, 79 overall. He's a centre-back. He's Swedish. He plays for Benfica. His name is Victor Nilsson Lindelof. And like Andre Silva, he has 86 potential. So just like the first two players I showed you in this episode, Tolisso and also Lukaku as well, these guys right here are good enough to benefit your team by, if not going in the first 11, going on the bench, but also having good potential for the future that is really going to help you when the years go by. Roma do have a few aging players and a few players that are coming towards the latter stages of their career. You need to start phasing them out and bringing in the younger talents, and that's exactly what these four players are. I would say that every single one would be worth all the money. I must admit, I overspent quite a bit on Lukaku, £10 million more than I maybe could have got him for cheaper, and also Nilsson Lindelof as well went to £16 million because I got quite desperate when I probably could have picked him up for a little bit cheaper. But at the end of the day, I would still say they're worth the money if you have that to splash, because they're all really good players. And again, not all of them are going to first 11 straight away, but they'll certainly be good enough for the bench, and they'll improve this team right away in the first team and also for the future as well. So those were the final two signings I made, and you'll see by the little transfer sort of like screen here on deadline day, I spent £103 million on four players. Now that's a lot of moolah, that's a lot of cash to splash, but I'll tell you what, I would say every single one of those players there would benefit Roma massively, not just in the first season, but again, the most important thing for many years to come. So here's the full list of negotiations I did with Roma. Also sold quite a lot of deadwood as well, and also their team going into the season too. Now again, a reminder of the objectives as we simulate to the end of the season. They were supposed to finish in the top three in the league, reach the semi-finals of the Cup, and also reach the semi-finals of the Champions League as well. Three pretty strong aims there. Certainly the Champions League aim, that was quite a tough one. I was quite surprised I had that as well. They're a 4.5 star team, Roma, not a bad team at all, but to reach the semi-finals of the Champions League will be quite difficult for any team to do, let alone a team that's 4.5 star team. But as you can see, they hit the league objective. They finished in third place. They pipped Lazio to the position. They finished with the same amount of points, but did end up 22 points behind Juventus. Now that sums it up. That sums up exactly what I've been talking about throughout the entire episode. You're not going to compete with Juventus in the first season, so don't even bother trying. You know you're not going to be able to outmuscle them in the league. Forget about it. In the Cup, they actually went one step further. They reached a final, but lost to guess who? Juventus. Obviously not a real surprise there, is it? So again, forget silver in the first season. But in the Champions League, they finished in the round of 16. That was quite a failure. It was two steps lower, or before, or two steps. What am I looking for? What's the word I'm looking for right here? 2 steps beneath. I'm not sure what the word is I'm looking for here. 2 steps away, anyway, from where they were supposed to get to. They were supposed to reach semi-finals of the Champions League, couldn't do that, and ended up getting knocked out in the round of 16. Although that was a very tough aim. I must say, that's a very, very tough aim, that, to reach semi-final in the first season. But I would still say that's a pretty successful first season. The league and the cup objectives being met, and as I always say, if you hit the league objective, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be fine. If you fail the other objectives or not, it doesn't really seem to matter. But either way, this is a fun Roma team, I must say. It's a pretty good project to undertake, and again, to outmuscle Juventus is going to take some doing in Italy, but this would be a really fun team to use to try and get the better of Juve as the years go by. And I would say that all 4 of those signings in the first season, despite spending a lot of money on all of them, averaging just over £25 million on a player, I would still say that all 4 of those players would be really, really good signings and benefit Roma right from the get-go in the first season, and also most importantly for the years to come as well. But that will end today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys, so I really hope you did enjoy it. I would definitely recommend Roma for a career mode if you're stuck for an idea on what team to use. They'll be a really fun team, especially because of the location. And also the challenge of outmuscling Juve domestically, and they've got lovely kits as well. If you enjoyed the video, then please do leave a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic evening as well, and I will see you for the next episode of Who to Sign For very soon.